Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode. When a worried dad finds a stash of expensive gifts hidden in his 14-year-old daughter's closet, his heart starts racing. He then finds a picture of an older man he doesn't know along with a note telling him about their secret meeting at a nearby coffee shop. Bobby, who was 45 years old, had always loved his daughter Mia, who was 14. He always made sure his girl was okay by checking in on her often. But for the past 3 months, he had seen Mia's behavior change in a strange way that scared him a lot. She had been avoiding him and wasn't telling him anything. Bobby was sure that Mia was up to no good because she called him late at night, talked to him behind closed doors, and her room smelled like smoke. Bobby looked into Mia's room because he thought something was wrong. He found signs of cigarettes or a lighter. He was going through her things when he saw a strange gift box in her closet, hidden under a bunch of clothes. Bobby was too interested to care, so he undid the orange satin ribbon while stumbling with his hands. There were several expensive gifts inside the box, including brand-name perfumes, a smartwatch that Mia had been wanting for a long time, and a diamond bracelet. While Bobby looked at each thing, he felt more uneasy. But the picture of an unknown older guy, probably in his 50s, and the letter about a meeting that day at a nearby cafe really shocked the father. It was signed with the first letter of a name Bobby didn't know. The dad couldn't believe what he saw and his heart sank as he read the words, "My dear Mia, I can't stop thinking about you. This is for being so lovely and beautiful. I'm really excited about finally meeting you. It makes me so happy you can't even imagine, and all I want to do is be with you. I can't wait to see you soon. Looking forward to our meeting on Saturday. I can already picture us talking, laughing, and sitting next to each other. God, I hope this cafe love you always, see you soon." Bobby was so angry that his hands were shaking, and he said under his breath, "Who is this guy? What the hell is going on?" Bobby gripped the letter tighter as he read it over and over, his mind full of questions. He couldn't believe his teenage daughter was seeing a man her dad's age behind her back. Bobby whispered to himself, "You better have an explanation, Mia," as he thought of his only daughter. "Why have you been taking luxury gifts from this man?" Bobby picked up the picture of the stranger off the bed and looked at it again, trying to remember if he knew the person. Boyd hadn't seen him anywhere, though. "A vegan place, huh?" he asked with a scowl. Seeing the letter V written on the back of the picture made him even more angry. It was going through Bobby's mind how long this had been going on, and he wanted to talk to Mia about it. He stormed out of his daughter's room and called her because he was so mad. She hung up the phone angry and said, "Dad, what do you want? I told you I can't talk in the middle of music class, didn't I? Talk to you later." Bobby then asked her what was wrong. He called her number again, but Mia didn't answer. He was shocked for a few seconds, and the weight of the situation hit him hard. Bobby put the things back where they belonged in her room. He knew she would be mad at him if she found out he had gone into her room and looked through her things. He tried to calm down by taking a deep breath before going. "What did I do to deserve this?" Bobby asked himself as he slouched on the couch and talked about what he had seen in Mia's room. After that, he quickly pulled out his phone and looked online for all the veggie cafes in his town. There's only one vegan cafe on Oakmont Lane. Were they planning to meet there today? I should find out what's going on before it's too late, he said and took action. Bobby put on a cap and sweater and drove right to Cafe Bean, which was the only restaurant in town that didn't serve meat. He looked around the cafe for Mia and her friend as soon as he got there. He felt better when he saw her sitting by the window by herself, playing with her phone. Bobby watched his daughter with worry from a corner table while he waited for the guy in the picture. Mia had a big, shiny smile on her face every time her phone rang, and Bobby couldn't figure out what was making her so happy. He couldn't help but feel a pang of homesickness as he watched her beam with joy. Mia no longer joked and laughed around with him like she used to. After going to the hospital 3 months ago for a regular checkup, she seemed like a completely different person, someone he didn't know at all. When Bobby and his family went to the doctor's office that day to wait for their reports, he was called to the front desk to fill out a form. A new doctor came in with some papers just as Bobby left the doctor's office. The doctor pulled out some papers and told Mrs. Davis, "Mrs. Davis, we found some concerning results in Mia's test." But Mrs. Davis made Mia stay, even though she asked, "Can we please talk in private?" Okay, does your daughter have any diseases that run in the family? She asked Mrs. Davis as she looked at the papers with interest. Has your family taken a blood test before? I mean, the three of you, especially Mr. Davis and Mia? When Mrs. Davis heard the words blood test, her heart skipped a beat, and she and her daughter looked at each other with worry. No, doctor, she said. We just go for a routine checkup every year. Her father is very particular about our health. This is our first blood examination together. Is something wrong? I see, the doctor said as she looked over the reports once more. I see that your daughter's blood group doesn't match your husband's, Mrs. Davis. Are you aware of this? Is Mr. Davis not Mia's? Mrs. Davis looked at the doctor with no idea what to say when she felt a lump in her throat. Her face was dry as she looked back and forth between the doctor and Mia, who was shocked. She replied, What do you mean my blood group doesn't match my dad's? The doctor paused for a moment before he or she said something shocking. Well, your father's blood type is such that it's highly unlikely that he's your birth father. That's what the blood test report indicates. Your blood group doesn't match his at all. When Mia looked at her mother, her eyes grew big with shock. Mom, what is she saying? What's going on? Dad's not my real dad, she said softly. Don't talk about this now. We'll talk about it later, Mrs. Davis begged Mia. At the exact moment that things were getting tense, Bobby walked into the room without knowing what was going on. It looked like everything was fine to Bobby, but his wife and daughter gave him strange looks that told him it wasn't. He asked, Is everything okay? Yes, honey, everything is fine. I'm glad the reports are correct, doctor. Thanks again. Mrs. Davis shook her head and quickly changed the subject to avoid any suspicion. The doctor laughed, and even though she knew how serious the situation was, she went along with it. She smiled at Bobby and said, Mr. and Mrs. Davis, everything looks good here. Take care. The family left the doctor's office. Mia looked at her mother as Bobby walked to the car. She had so many questions that she didn't know how to make sense of them all. She grabbed her mother by the arm and whispered, What was that all about, Mom? Is Dad not my birth father? Tell me what's going on. Why did the doctor say that? How come my blood doesn't match Dad's? Mrs. Davis thought for a moment, and she could feel the heat rising. It's complicated. I'll explain everything later when we get home. But please do not ask anything in front of your father. It's better if we discuss this privately. Mia rolled her eyes and sat in the back seat with her head against the window. She looked at her worried mother in the rearview mirror and felt tense. Mom, we're home. What's going on? What did the doctor mean by that? I need to know the truth now, Mia asked Mrs. Davis as she grabbed her hand and looked intensely at her. I'll be waiting for you in my room. When her mother walked into the room, Mia was sitting there looking at the wall. Sweetie, we need to talk, Mrs. Davis said as she slammed the door shut behind her. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Mia looked up at her mom with red, puffy eyes. I'm so sorry, Mia. The doctor was right, Mrs. Davis told Mia as she put her hand on her shoulder and tears came to her eyes. I met someone on a cruise in Virginia while your dad was in Cape Town for business. We had a short affair. When I found out I was pregnant with his child, I was afraid to tell your dad I cheated because I loved Bobby and knew he loved you like his daughter. I didn't want to hurt either of you by telling the truth. What happened on that cruise was an accident. Mia was shocked when she heard her mother's statement. What the hell, Mom? How are you going to do that? How could you have hidden this awful secret from me for so long? Why did you not tell me before? Who's my real father? She asked back. But Mrs. Davis wouldn't say who her affair partner was until Mia said she would talk to Bobby about it. I have a right to know who my biological father is, Mom, Mia said. I can't keep lying to myself and acting like everything is fine, okay? I'll tell my dad, boss, the truth if you don't tell me who my real father is right now. Okay, Mrs. Davis said as she looked at her. Fine. In a whisper, she told him his full name, Victor. But you promise not to tell anyone, especially Bobby, she said. It could break up our family if he finds out. Mom, could you tell me more about him? Where does he come from? Mia told her mom, I want to know everything. With guilty looks in her eyes, Mrs. Davis shook her head and turned to face Mia. No, I don't know much. After the trip, we never saw each other again. Don't ask me about him again, please. Mia nodded, and Mrs. Davis took a deep breath. She then stormed out of her room, leaving behind the sound of her heavy footsteps in the hallway. Mom, how could you treat me like this? Why has she kept this secret from me all these years? Mia thought, her face showing anger and frustration. I won't let Mom's secrecy hold me back, she said firmly. I'm going to find out more about my biological dad, even if I have to go behind Mom's back, she said in a low voice as she turned on her laptop. Mia's eyes were red and itchy, but she couldn't stop looking for any clues about her birth father online. As the night went on, she looked through a huge number of social media accounts, desperate to find him. As she came across a profile, her heart raced as she looked over the information over and over again. The name, age, and location all matched what her mother had told her. Is he my biological father? She asked herself. Mia whispered with wide eyes. Hi, my name is Mia, she typed with shaking fingers. I understand that this will sound crazy. But I think I might be your daughter. About 15 years ago, you met my mom at Island Temptations while on a cruise in Virginia. May I talk? And hit the send button. Angry, she stared at the screen, hoping for an answer. Finally, a notice appeared, and when she opened it, it was a message from the man. Her heart skipped a beat. What? I'm truly sorry. It's not clear to me what you mean. The answer said, I think you got the wrong profile. When Mia took a deep breath to calm down before entering her answer, her heart started to race. No, I'm sure it's you, Dad. Esther, my mom, told me that you are my real dad. I know this is a surprise to you. But I know some things that only you and my mom do. You can have it if you want. There was a long pause, and then Mia got another notice that made her eyes water. I'm not sure what to say. Yes, I did meet Esther on a trip. She was a wonderful woman. After the trip, we never saw or talked to each other again. My gay boyfriend and I are now married. We've been together for 7 years. We don't have any kids, and I'm shocked that I have a daughter. This is really strange. Yes, really. Thanks for getting in touch, Mia. I'm so glad you wrote. Could we talk some more? We might be able to meet. That sounds great to me. What do you believe? To get to know each other better, Mia and her real father, Victor, sent each other message after message all night. She started spending more time with him on video chats every day and was thrilled when he told her he would be in her town soon and would love to meet her. Hey, but first I have a gift for you. I know you'll adore it, sweetheart. He told her over video chat. Soon after, about a week before the meeting, Mia got a package. It was a gift box with an expensive watch, her favorite perfumes, a diamond bracelet, and a note with a picture of Victor on it. She hid the gift box in her cupboard after seeing her dad's picture over and over again. It made her feel sad and touched. She couldn't wait to meet him in person that weekend. The loud buzzing of Mia's phone woke her up. I just got into a taxi at the airport, it said. Darling, send me the address of the cafe, the message said. Please don't be late. I'm already at Cafe Bean ready to meet you. I got here a little early. I'm excited to see you. Sending the location to you. She answered, love you, her eyes darting across the doorway. Bobby was listening carefully to everything from the corner table and was about to act when he saw an older stranger walk up to Mia's table 30 minutes later. Bobby clenched his teeth and fists as he watched Mia and the man hug. They sat down and held hands while talking, and Bobby could no longer hold back. What the hell is going on? Two people, Mia and Victor, backed away from each other when they heard Bobby's words. Bobby walked over to the table and looked at Mia with wide eyes. His tone was angry, and his eyes were glowing with anger. Mia! Who is this guy? You better start explaining. Mia jumped up and yelled, Dad, what are you doing here? Were you following me? Bobby didn't answer her questions, though, and instead punched Victor in the jaw, breaking his teeth. They both fell down. Victor fell off the table and writhed in pain. The cafe was filled with the sound of glass breaking and shocked screams as Bobby jumped on him and beat him up. Mia screamed, Dad, stop. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Stop, but Bobby couldn't be stopped. Bobby yelled at Victor, "You stay away from my daughter, you pedophile," and grabbed him by the collar. You're a sicko. Finding someone half your age to fool around with, huh? How dare you flirt with my girl? Dad, stop. Please, let him go. It's not what you think. Please, let him go, Mia begged. Somebody, please help call an ambulance. Please, he's bleeding. But Bobby had gone too far into his anger to listen, and he couldn't get back. He hit Victor on the nose again hard, which made him pass out. People in the cafe were having a hard time getting Bobby further away from Victor, who was bleeding and unconscious. Oh my God, what did you do? Dad, no. Dad, wake up, Dad. Mia cried out. As Bobby watched in shock, Mia held Victor's head in her lap and called him Dad. He couldn't make sense of what she was saying. He ran after the ambulance and stopped when he saw the police car coming up behind it. Mia, come back, Mia, he yelled. Sir, we need you to come with us, a police officer told Bobby as they put his hands on his shoulder. After a few hours, the doctor walked into Victor's room. There is no need to worry about his health right now, he told Mrs. Davis and Mia as they got up from Victor's bedside. Bobby walked into the room and said, "Hello, Victor." This broke the dead quiet. Bobby was taken to the hospital after being arrested to have his bloody hands checked for any injuries. He begged the sheriff to let him into Victor's room for a minute when he found out that Victor was also there. I'm sorry about everything, Victor. My wife told me everything at the station. I'm really very sorry. I misunderstood that you and my daughter were actually, I love my daughter more than anything in the world. It would be any father's fear when he finds expensive gifts in his teen daughter's cupboard and sees her holding hands with a stranger. I just did what any father would do. Victor slowly nodded. The purple bruises and swollen nose on his face showed that he had been hit. He said, "I understand," in a painful whisper through his lost front teeth. When Mrs. Davis turned around to face Bobby, her eyes were filled with shame and guilt. Oh my God, Bobby, I've never seen you like this before. I didn't know you were capable of this, she said. He looked back at his daughter as he left the room. Forgive me too, Mia. I hope this won't hurt our relationship. I love you and always will. My doors are always open for you, he said in a painful voice as he walked away with the sheriff. While Mrs. Davis and Mia sat back in the room, they watched Bobby's outline fade away. They felt sad and guilty when they realized they had hurt their family so badly that it could not be fixed. That's it for today, friends. Please let us know what you think about this story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon for more amazing stories.